Let us try to improve the SQ terminal output, because we saw when we used the original SQ command, the username was not properly displayed because it sort of outputs a table, but the columns are too narrow. We didn't see the full use. We have pretty long usernames in bin 310. So we want to make this improved. And here is the procedure to do that. First of all, let's go into the terminal, and I have, as usually, the terminal here, and I have RStudio here. If I list the content of my home folder, I'm now in the home folder, like this. Now I'm sure, right? Yes, I'm in my home folder. Go to your home folder. List the content. There are no files. Well, yes, there are, because there are some hidden files. We saw this when we edited the rprofile file. If you use the -A option, you will see that there are some hidden files. And these are files starting with a dot in Unix. Everything that starts with a dot in their name, files or folders, will be hidden. So we can see that we can recognize the rprofile that we created earlier. But this is the one we are interested in now. Remember, when we created the rprofile, I said that what is actually the idea here is that each time R is started, it will go to your home folder and look for this file. And if it exists, it will execute every command in this file. So it's sort of the startup commands, you could say, for R. This here, bashrc, .bashrc, is a similar type of file, but for the Unix shell. So each time you log in or start a new Unix shell, the Unix operating system will go to your home folder, look for this file, and execute the commands in this file. These are shell commands, Unix commands, right? Not R commands as in this other file. But it has a sort of a similar role, a startup thing, which means you must be very, very careful when you edit this file. Because if you do something wrong here, if you mess up this file, you may not be able to log in anymore. That's how dramatic it is. So please, please stay highly concentrated and do exactly as I do it here now. There is no room for sloppiness here. So how can we edit this file? Because as you can see in RStudio, we can't see it. We can only see the hidden files that RStudio has created itself, but it doesn't list the other ones. So we cannot really open them here because we can't find them. Here's the trick we use. We copy the file, the .bashrc file, we copy it into another file that has exactly the same name but without the dot. Just bashrc, like this. So now we have two copies of this file. Yeah, here is the copy and here's the original. And now we can edit the copy. If I refresh RStudio here now, it pops up here as a file, right? Because this is not a hidden file. And this is simply a text file, so just clicking it here will open it in RStudio. And please, please never ever edit what is on this file above this here. It says user-specific aliases and functions. So below here, you can add your own stuff, but don't touch what's up there because you may mess up something. It's not super much. This may grow actually. Once we start using some software, some softwares will actually go in and edit this file, add some extensions to it. You can actually see that if you go and look at the end of the course into this file, it may have changed more than what you have changed it. So here we can now add our own aliases. And what is an alias? It's really a shortcut. It's if you have a sort of a long command that you type here on the terminal and you want to replace it with a shortcut, you can do that by creating what we call an alias here. And let me now copy, and here's exactly the alias that we should copy. And now you have to copy this. Copy like this and go into RStudio, put your cursor here and paste. This is the alias. So it starts with the command alias, then the sort of the new command. This will now become the new alias command equals, and here is what this new is a shortcut for. And what is actually, you recognize the original SQ command here. And then we list which columns, these letters are for the columns that we should, because we don't list all the original columns from the SQ output, we only list some of them that we think we need. And this %.18, %.15, these are the widths of the column. So here is now the user column with 15 characters wide, which is much wider than it was originally. So this is the important change here. You can see the time is only 2 characters wide because it's not very, you don't need a lot of characters there. Yeah, so actually you can change these numbers if you want to make the columns even wider. You increase here, for instance, from 15 to 20 or whatever, but I think 15 is wide enough for all our usernames. Okay, so now we save this file, save, and now we have changed the copy, right? Let's go back to the terminal here, and let's just use the cat command to look at the content of the file. So now I look at the content of this file. I just copy like this, right? You just highlight the text that you want to copy, and you right click where you want to paste it. Cat bash rc. Yes, you can see it now contains this last line of code that we added. If we now look at the original, I used the up arrow to just repeat the previous command, but now I want to cat this with .bash rc. It still hasn't got this. So now we need to copy the edited file back into the original file, right? And now we can list the content of this one. And now we can see it has gotten an alias here. Let me just add another alias while I'm at it here, because when I list the content of a folder, ls, right? I very often, or almost always, want to list with -a to show the hidden files. I also want to add -l for long format. Let me show you what this does. This, I think, at least in my eyes, this is a much better listing, right, of the content. The long format will now list all the files and folders under each other here. And you get some more information about each one of them. Especially, I want to see this column, which is the size. How big are the files? This is important. And I want to see this part here, which is the permissions. And the D first means that it's a directory, it's a folder, right? But you can also see it by the coloring, right? All the blue colors means folders, all the white are files here. This coloring changes by the permissions, so it's not something you can rely on. but this one you can rely. If it's a D here, it's always a folder directory, right? So these are files. And you can see there the permissions. Go back to the Module 1 Linux tutorial to learn more about the permissions. But this is important. And we can see it varies a little bit. Read, write, and execute permissions. Okay, I want to have this as an alias in my bash rc file. So you can do it if you like. I'm so used to it, so I need to have this. I have always used LSA as an alias for ls minus al, and actually I also add an s here because s will also list symbolic links, which is not something we will talk more about in this course, I think. But yeah, it's a symbolic link is a link to some file which is not really here, but it's located somewhere else. So I add this as well. Now I need to save this again. And then I need to copy again the edited version over to the original version. And now let's verify this is the content. Yeah. So if I now type LSA, it doesn't know what I'm talking about. There is no command called LSA, because this has not yet been registered by the system. Because this file is only read whenever you log in or when you create a new shell. So we should now actually log out and log in again to see that it has been working. Or we can create a new shell, but I think I will actually just log out and log in. Let me try to do that. So let me just Control D for logging out, or click it away like that, and then I log in again. And now I need to do the login password. And hopefully you are being logged in, unless you have messed up your file. And now let's see LSA. Yes, now this command is working. Now this alias, this shortcut is working. So whenever I just type LSA now, I get this listing of the content. It's an alias or shortcut to ls minus als. And also the SQ command should now be working, listing the queue. And now you can see the columns are much wider compared to the SQ, which is still working, of course, right? But you can see now that these it doesn't display the whole length of the username, because the columns and the new version is much better because it's a wider here. Now we can see our usernames properly. Okay,